Are you finally ready for that big Canon August announcement for the EOS R7 Mark II? Will it finally take the crown back from Nikon's Z6 Mark III to be the best product in its segment? And what about capabilities? Is Canon building a baby R1? Or have they set their sights on the EOS R5 Mark II as its big brother? But first, please punch that subscribe button. Thanks so much. It really means an awful lot to us. Like a child getting a Jeremy Clarkson for his birthday, minus all that parental regret. Good morning, or is it good afternoon or good evening? My name's Simon, and I'm your friendly photographic correspondent with a dry sense of humor and a compulsion to trudge through all the camera news and rumor sites so that you don't have to. Today, we've got an update on the R7 Mark II, the little camera that might just be growing up. Now, on the surface, it looks like the rumored EOS R7 Mark II will be an APS-C equipped version of the EOS R5 Mark II. The finer detail may be what shows the difference, other than sensor size. The R5 Mark II has a 45 megapixel sensor, and the latest specs show the EOS R7 Mark II calls for a 32 megapixel sensor. Now, if you've been paying attention, that's a step down from February when Canon rumors said the EOS R7 Mark II will potentially be something like a baby EOS R1 with an APS-C sensor. Treating Canon's flagship APS-C camera like a serious full-frame body is definitely a step up, even if we're not stepping up to that top rung, the R1. And quite frankly, this is a welcome one. And of course, it sends the right message. It's possible that we might see a CF Express Type B card slot in addition to an SD-XC slot, just like the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. Love it or like it, the Canon EOS R7 Mark II hasn't got a snowball's chance in hell of getting dual CF Express Type B card slots. A single card slot? Yeah, that's certainly possible. So, what about timing? Well, in July, Canon rumors told us that we have been told there will be a major product announcement coming from Canon at the end of August. This has historically been the time of year that Canon often unveils multiple products at once. Now, we're not sure if that big August announcement is still on, but Canon rumors goes on to say, we know that new things are coming sometime in the next month, but we do think Canon is going to spread some of the announcements out over Q3 and Q4. Well, since it's now August, next month puts it into September. That doesn't mean that Canon rumors is wrong here, not by a long shot. We've also had a source telling us that a major Canon announcement was coming this summer, originally in July and then August. So this is definitely a moving target. And the reason why? Canon is having trouble fulfilling orders of products already released years ago. So until that's all sorted out, I'd be surprised if the dates don't shift again. Last up, specifications. Now, Canon rumors sums up the specifications with a little deviation from previous posts, namely from E8M8888 that put out a post very similar to this back in 2024. In terms of the sensor, the R7 II is supposed to be getting a 32 to 33 megapixel sensor, an APS-C stacked sensor. The Digic X and the Digic Accelerator found in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, and that same 8.5 stops of in-body image stabilization that was also found, or is found, on the R5 Mark II. Now, continuous shooting remains at 40 frames per second electronic shutter, with rumors stating that the mechanical shutter is no more, at least on the R7 II. Now, Nikon did this also with the Nikon Z6 Mark III, well, in the Z8 and the Z9. So Nikon's kind of leading the way here. And in terms of video specifications, well, we only really have one. Well, it's kind of three, but it's all built into one. The R7 II is capable of video, 4K video up to 120 frames per second. That's 10-bit and with Canon Log 3. Now, there's no mention if it can do 7K oversample 4K, but I'm willing to bet that it can. But that's going to be limited to, let's say, all the basic frame rates of 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. Could it go up to 60? Potentially. It's really hard to say at this point. But don't be surprised that it's going to be a little bit more portly than the Mark I. Is this enough to regain the crown from the Nikon Z6 Mark III? It's way too early for me to be able to weigh in on that. Let's wait until we at least have an announcement, whether one's scheduled or not. I'm suspecting that it probably won't happen until September, the very earliest potential date, the second week of September. Now, we could have something in August, but it's probably going to be in the next 2 weeks if that's the case, and we haven't heard any rumors, so I'm ruling out August. And of course, for September, we have that back to school. Everyone's busy, no one's paying attention to the news, let alone wondering about the next camera that's coming out. So usually from around the second week of September up until the end of October, that's where we get the majority of the announcements. So thank you so much for watching, tuning into this channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're feeling just a little bit wild, try using my product links down below for Adorama, B&H, Amazon, or Walmart. They really help support this channel, and you using those links is what really supports the channel. And they keep away those pesky Squarespace and VPN ads. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.